and you're very welcome to the Today Show, live from Cork.
Yes, we have a very helpful show for you today with advice on everything from fashion to divorce.
Yes, well, if your soulmate has become your cellmate, you'll want to stay tuned today as we're joined by solicitor Josepha Madigan, who's going to advise us on the do's and don'ts of divorce. And I suppose, Josepha, you're welcome to the show again. It's been a few years since we had you on.
Thank you very much.
Divorce this time of the year would be, I suppose, a flashpoint for a lot of people that they would decide to go ahead and take the plunge.
It is. It's, you know, it's extraordinary, actually, the leap after Christmas. And, you know, as I was saying to your researcher at one point, you know, the fact that families are very exposed at Christmas, you know, because there's no school, there's no work, there's no distractions in that sense. There's a lot of financial pressure and there's extended family to mind.
There's pressure to be nice to people as well.
To be jovial and great fun. And, you know, if there's something that's going to break, it's going to break around that time. So it's no surprise.
Yeah, I mean, they really have come up, haven't they? Because I know in the beginning when divorce came in, it's back in, what, 96 now, it was a very slow burn and, you know, people actually going down the divorce route, but it's certainly increased in the last 10 years.
Yeah, it has. I mean, I think in 2002 it was about around 35,000 people described themselves as divorced, and it leaped to about 87,000 in 2011. So it is amazing. It's gone up 150% since 2002.
Yeah, when you're thinking just the journey that is made with the referendum and everything, I remember posters, hello divorce, goodbye daddy, and all these things. And we're seeing them now unreeling in the years over the Christmas and stuff like that, and here we are today.
That's right, yeah. I mean, it was only by 0.5% that the referendum was passed, you know. So, yeah, I mean, we still have a very low marital breakdown rate. We're still only 9.7% compared to the UK or America. So I suppose we should be grateful for that.
Yeah, it's true. Now, another topic that is to the fore this time of the year is divorce. And, of course, it's never easy. But after Christmas, apparently a lot of people do decide to make the break. Solicitor Josepha Madigan is here now to advise us on the best ways to do that. Hi, Josepha.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I suppose divorce, it's never an easy process. It's a dreadful process that anyone has to face into. But, I mean, what would be the first step if you are deciding to go down that road?
I think the first step is to go to consult a solicitor, and I'm not saying that just because I am a solicitor. I do think it's important that you get independent legal advice, because there is a good way to divorce and a bad way to divorce. And I think that whatever way parents decide to divorce, if they are parents, is going to affect the children. So it's very important that people get an informed choice about how to do that. So if they go to their solicitor, they can discuss the options that are available to them. And obviously, it's common sense that if they can talk to the other half, if they can talk at all, to sort of see if they can agree on any terms and at least have some sort of working agreement in place. That would also
Would you call that a good divorce then?
Yeah.
If both sides are chatting and maybe not as much bitterness as could have been there, and both could maybe step back from the situation, so that would be a relatively good divorce if they go their separate ways.
I suppose I would call it a good enough divorce.
Good enough
you
divorce,
know, I mean, it's sort of an anomaly, isn't it, the word? Yeah, exactly, yeah. But there definitely is a right way to do it, and another way that just escalates the conflict. So, I mean, every solicitor is going to be a litigator at the end of the day, and sometimes you have to robustly help people. But at the same time, if the people are adult enough, you can, you know, agree ad idem certain, you know,
what about if you have a husband and wife, they say to each other, OK, this is just not working out at all. Both decide to go their separate ways, and can they just sign an agreement or something saying they're going their separate ways and that's it?
Yeah, it won't be legally binding.
It won't be legally, okay.
So, you know, there's a way to, I suppose, it depends if the people are separating or divorcing. I don't want to be so technical about it, but suffice to say that they could do up a separation deed, certainly between the two of them, and that is legally binding just as much as a judicial separation. And you could do the same with the divorce and have it ruled on consent.
I know that in this country, before we had divorce in '96, people had judicial separations. That was all we had to have a break, not a clean break, but a break between people. And of course, people can still go back after a judicial separation and look for more from each other from the courts. Divorce is more final. And I suppose really, Josepha is going to stay with us for the rest of the show, and she's going to answer your questions on divorce, the legal in and out, and who can get a divorce and how long you have to wait before that. So do get your questions into us. You can email them to us today at rte.ie. You're going to stay with us, Josepha.
We're back in a few.
See you in a minute. Now, you're very welcome back to the show. We are here with solicitor Josepha Madigan, and we're talking about divorce. Just before the break, Josepha was talking to us about the first steps to divorce, but I suppose really before you can go down the road of divorce, you have to be separated for 4 out of the last 5 years. Is that right? Legally?
Yes, that is one of the conditions. You have to be 4 years separated the previous 5. There's no prospect of reconciliation, and also there has to be proper provision made for any dependent children.
How would you prove that you were separated for 4 or 5? Showing rent receipts and stuff like that, is that? And ESP bills?
Yeah, and this is, suppose, and that was the Sunday Times article that I wrote in relation to this collusion sometimes between couples that have been living separate and apart for 4 years under the same roof. How do you prove that?
How do you prove that?
So,
and with the recession, that was a real issue.
Absolutely, with the negative equity and all those people were forced to remain, as you said earlier, from soulmates to cellmates. What would happen in that circumstance is the judge would adduce evidence from the applicant in the divorce or the separation as to how they lived together. Did they socialise together? Did they eat together? Did they even wash each other's clothes? Were there any no normal marital relations for a number of years? We'll come down to that forensically.
But you know what, to be honest about
if it's a dispute.
It's actually unfair, I think, to preclude somebody from a divorce if they have been living under the same roof and they are separated, because there are a lot of people in that situation, as we just said there. So it would be unfair. So the judge has to adjudicate on that and probably decide in favour of those people in most cases. Have you seen that through the courts?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it was a case back in 2011, I think it was the first case, where there was a couple who actually shared the same marital bed, but were technically living separate and apart for 4 years because simply they couldn't afford to have separate accommodation. So you have to allow a divorce under those circumstances. I mean, most people would consent if it's a divorce that they've, obviously established the various provisos, but it's in the event of a dispute,
That's right. A lot of people, of course, getting in touch with us on this subject, and a lot is to do with money, as always. I'm legally separated since 1992. I got a price for my divorce. I was told approximately €2,000. Everything is agreed between myself and my ex-husband, and I have my own house. Is there any cheaper way of getting one? Thank you. Now, how much does it cost to get a divorce?
Yeah, being honest with you, that sounds quite reasonable. 2,000 for a divorce. I mean, I
go for it.
It does sound reasonable to me. I'm wondering, is she talking about if she's agreed the terms on consent?
I think they have agreed the terms, yeah.
I mean, she doesn't even have to get legally represented. She could go into court herself and ask the judge to rule both as applicant and respondent, as long as they've sworn affidavits of means so that the judge has a full financial profile. There's no reason why the judge won't accept that if she wanted to do that.
So that's the cheapest option, but I mean, really, you'd probably advise having some legal advice, especially if you're talking about assets and children and all this.
Pension adjustment orders, property adjustment orders, of course.
Speaking of assets and children, when you are divorced, all assets split equally, all children over 21, do you have to pay maintenance?
Yeah, that's a bit general now.
Yeah.
I know it's hard to answer a specific question, but it's not always equal.
No, it's not.
Just, the 50-50
rule. But it says equally here,
if you like, it's only actually in California. It's a rule of thumb here, and if either party want more than that, they have to prove to the court why they should get more than that.
Well, maybe one is the main carer as well. I mean, if somebody's the main carer of the primary carer, I should say, of the children, they'd need more maintenance than...
Exactly. Maintenance is directly dependent on one's income and outgoings, and if there's a significant change in circumstances. There are many factors that are taken into account,
Tell us about a mediation first, and then we'll go on to collaborative law and explain these to us.
Yeah.
Mediation is when you go and actually discuss with somebody like a mediator before you go to court.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you would. I mean, the thing about, I'm a mediator also, but the thing about mediation is it's not legally binding.
Okay.
So obviously, I would always encourage couples to try mediation as a conflict resolution mechanism before they embark on, hotly contested court. Fight,
because otherwise you're paying for the High Court, and that's thousands and thousands every day.
Exactly. But it's important then that you get those terms incorporated into consent.
Even though tempers and emotions can and will be very, very high, you need to just kind of deflate a small bit and stand back.
Yeah, and you can imagine, Dory, that people, it depends where they are on the grief chart, if you like. So it's denial, anger, bargaining, depression and acceptance. It is a grief at the end of a marriage. So it depends.
Because something has died. The marriage has died.
Exactly, So it depends. Some people might be better able to cope with going through a separation divorce than another person. So the best time is when they're both at the same place on the grief chart.
That's mediation. Collaborative law.
Collaborative law is different to mediation in the sense that you have your solicitor with you.
Yes.
So you're legally advised at all times. You enter what you call a participation agreement to stay out of court. The only, I suppose, drawback with it is that you can't use the same solicitor if there's future court contested proceedings. So that is a caveat.
So in
other words, if you want me to do it collaboratively, I won't be able to act for you at a later stage.
Course,
but it is a very valuable mechanism also, you know.
Again, all these are reasons that you will save yourself money in the long term, because, again, how much does the High Court cost around per day?
I mean, the High Court, first of all, I'd just say, you know, with the proviso that only 5% of cases will go to the High Court, because it's over about 5 million of assets, which very few people have in this jurisdiction anyway. About 95% would be to the Circuit Court. But you're talking, you know, God, I suppose 20,000, 30,000, you know, in and around that more, with senior counsel, junior counsel.
And the rest.
The average circuit case, 15, 10.
But even the average
with the
circuit court
barristers.
case is so much.
And then you've expert witnesses and forensic accountants.
And the emotional fallout of that then after is huge. So saving money, we kind of discussed it there as well. So tensions and emotions high, kind of just leave it, deflate a small bit and stand back a small bit, and you will save yourself a lot of money like that. That's one way of saving money.
Absolutely.
This is very interesting as well. My ex-husband, my husband, ex-husband, I think this person means, lives in France. He got a divorce there. Is that divorce valid in Ireland? That's from Anne-Marie.
Yeah, there's the Recognition of Foreign Divorces Act, which effectively says that if either person is domiciled in that particular jurisdiction where the divorce is granted, then it will be recognised in this jurisdiction.
That's an easy way to get around the 4-year thing if people are living abroad as well, isn't it?
Yes, no, you still have to prove that you were 4 years out of the preceding 5.
It will not be recognised until it's still within the 4 years. Okay, right. A lot of other questions coming in. Another one here was probably too long to actually get to, but basically if people don't pay their maintenance, can this person go back into court if the maintenance order is being set up? Can a person go back into court and represent themselves?
They can represent themselves, of course. They can actually attach a committal order to prison, which is, you know, what people don't realise is that an order of a family law court is as important as a criminal court order.
Yeah, people don't realise
and there are
that,
repercussions, and the new Family and Child Relationship Bill deals with that, about fines and penalties for people who don't abide by court orders. And judges look very seriously at maintenance, you know.
Brilliant, okay. Well, Josepha, thank you very much. Of course, we could have talked about this and answered a lot more questions, but actually we've run out of time. But of course, you can get more advice from people like Josepha. Mediation advice, you can go to the Mediators Institution of Ireland to find a solicitor there.
Or for a family law expert, contact the Law Society. And if you would like to try to get free legal aid, you should contact the Legal Aid Board. Josepha, thank you very much.
Thanks again. It's great to see you.